All right, welcome. Today we're going to talk about those 5 levels of value that no one else is telling you about and which are really key when it comes to creating the extra value within your career, but it helps you advance as well and start getting that recognition, that respect that you deserve. If this is the first time here, welcome. I'm Kim Rijmakers. I'm a leadership strategist and an executive advisor for women in leadership roles, oftentimes senior leadership and executive roles. And I work with them on a number of different goals, but key of that is getting that respect, recognition, and visibility leading to the promotions and the role advancements that they are wanting to achieve that have not come yet their way at this moment in time. So let's dig into this because just pulling up my notes here, because I did this as a presentation, as a workshop earlier this week. Now, I can't share everything today because I flew through it at that workshop and it was an hour and a half. And today I really want to, make it simple and just go through each of the steps. And then at a later date, I'm going to go in depth in each of these levels of value with you in a separate live video. So watch for that. All right. So let's put it into perspective, right? Let's start with this first premise. I would call it. Whereas if you think about the job market and you think about finding that next role, whether it's internally in your organization or externally of your organization, let's be honest, 70% of jobs are going to be filled through your network. Or they're filled through networking, not just your network, but through the network of where it becomes really key of who knows who. So this has really caused this, what I call this hidden leadership ladder, especially for women, where we as women tend to network less. And that is, we're going to get into that in one of the value stages as well. But this means that you might be finding yourself frustrated, wondering why your male colleagues are getting promoted so much quicker and faster than you are, whether or not, regardless of the results. I'm not going to put a definition or let's put a quality in the terms of the results that they're delivering, but you find yourself still questioning, okay, I'm doing all the work. I'm working really hard. I'm delivering results. I'm getting achievements. My team is performing. So why am I still not being the one that's being asked to pick up and take on that new strategic project? Or why am I not the one that's being tapped for the next director role or that next VP role? Instead, I'm kind of still here working my butt off, and it doesn't seem to matter because no one seems to notice. Well, this is why I want to talk to you about the hidden leadership ladder and why these 5 levels of value can be such a huge benefit for you in order to unlock those hidden rungs and start climbing. So what am I talking about? Well, that hidden leadership ladder, of course, is when it comes about, it is where you see your male colleagues, they are progressing faster than you are, and you haven't seemed to find the right ladder that is going to lead to you being able to go to that same level that they are at themselves. So let's dive into those 5 value levels. And as always, if you're watching this live, welcome. Drop in where you're watching it from. If you've got questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. I will check on the comments once in a while. I'm just going to jump into the comments and see what there's in the chat, if there's anything in the chat. And if you catch this on the replay, just drop me a hashtag replay or ask me questions, right? Just DM me questions. I'm happy to answer questions in the DMs as well. So let's talk about the 5 levels of value. Now, I want to take you into that first level of value. The first level of value is what I call the implementation level. Now, this is where you're really completing your work as an individual contributor. You're essentially the doer. Your KPIs are more focused on being able to execute and follow instructions. And when it comes to salary at this level, this is going to be linked to your time. Now, this really is the lowest level of value. So think of it, if you were thinking of a triangle, this is going to be the lowest level of value in that value triangle in the 5 levels. What happens is if you're at this level, everyone starts at this level. So no worries if you're at this level right now, perfect, fine. You get to learn how to increase your value in the marketplace. But everyone starts here. So when it comes to promotability, and likely if you're listening or you're one of my clients, it's been a while since you've been in the implementation level, and that's all right. So when it comes to implementation, there are a couple of mistakes that I have seen. And you'll see some of these mistakes come back in each of those levels. But when it comes to implementation, one of those common mistakes that I find is that you tend to really be very good at your job. So you're doing your tasks and your responsibilities. But you may be asking yourself, well, if I'm, doing everything I'm supposed to do, why am I not advancing? Why am I not being looked at going, hey, it's time for you to take on that project? Or are you wanting to take on that team leader role? Because one of those things one of the questions, actually, that's a really good question to segue in this, is from on Tuesday, one of the women shared, well, I'm in a role that I'm an individual contributor. So I'm in the implementation stage. I really want to move from a very technical role into a more people management role. But how do I get there when I don't have the skills to even I don't have any demonstrated experience in it, right? This is always one of those killers like, oh my God, I don't have the experience. People are going to overlook me. I'm not even qualified for the role. So what I want you to think about, whether you're in that similar situation or you're looking at for yourself, how do I grow in my leadership? How do I grow in my role? Is to start looking first off. You need the foundation at this level that you are completing the responsibilities and the tasks that you have, right? So think of your job description. Are you 100% meeting your job description? This is foundational at this level, right? This is the basics of doing the job right and doing it well. Now, in order to create for yourself and make yourself more valuable, you can start to look around what are the additional responsibilities and activities that you could be doing, or maybe you already are doing, that demonstrate your value as into the next level, which is what I call the team activator level. Now, I'll explain in a minute what the team activator level is, but just think of it like, how are you showcasing that you're ready to be able to lead more people? Are you able to lead more processes? Are you able to lead a project team? So that can be, and the advice that I gave with the question, not necessarily the advice, but the answer I provided when I was asked that question of, well, hold on a minute, like I have a technical role. How do I transition into a more people role, which is a little more which is more soft skills? Well, one of those elements can also be is finding ways that you can either collaborate with somebody else on a project or on a process to start determining if you can get those skills that way. Or really, you have to start asking for those opportunities and being very open about, this is my ambition, this is where I want to grow towards, with your manager. Now, let's talk about the second level, because as I shared, the second level is what I call the team activator level. Now, at this team activator level, what you're doing is you're managing people, you're managing projects, or you're managing policies and process. Sometimes you're managing a combination of those, of course, right? But you have taken in the step that you're not, it doesn't have, because that's the other question. We had fantastic questions on Tuesday, is that it's not necessarily that you have to only be the person that has a team, a formal team structure of individuals reporting into you. But what you should think about at the team activator level is that you have, either through policies and processes that you're in charge of or projects that you're doing, that you do still have to activate other individuals in order to be able to get to the results that you are responsible for. And when it comes to your pay at this point and at this level, your pay is linked to you and your own responsibility. So less attached to the time and more to the scale of the responsibilities that you hold. Now, what do I find here? Let's talk about the mistakes. I think it's really key that we understand there are mistakes that are made at each level. So what are they? Well, the mistake here at level two of being an team activator is you often are doing the work yourself. So you might be finding yourself like, "Ooh, I don't know quite how to delegate or what to delegate and when." So you choose to kind of back off a little bit and do it yourself. You find yourself possibly managing tasks and not leading your team. Now, what do I mean that and the difference in that? Well, managing tasks is really going point by point, like, okay, have you done this activity and this activity and this next activity? So you haven't really delegated the responsibility of a project or an action to your team members, but what you have done is just made them that they are just executing small little bits along the way, and you are the one that is managing it all. So think of it, you are trying to be like the conductor of an orchestra, except what you're also doing at this point in time is like you're not necessarily listening for the how it all flows together, but you're going, okay, well, those flutes, I think I need to jump in there, and I might need to tweak how they're playing because, or maybe just let me do it myself because I can do it better, right? And they're not quite on par. Well, oh, but over there, the percussion really, it needs to have a different we need to change that as well. So what that happens, instead of really being the conductor, you're running between all these different instruments, hoping that you get them all just exactly right, and they're doing exactly how you want them to do it, right? So you might be like, I know you, if you're watching the video, you might have a specific we call it a specific way of how they need to hold their instrument, and they need to do it exactly like you say, and they need to breathe exactly as you say, rather than asking them and trusting in their ability to be able to do their part. So that's what I mean, the difference between managing your tasks versus leading your team. Now, there is also a really big mistake here. I call this the likability trap, where what you find is oftentimes like, "Ooh, I really want my team to like me. I want them to, I need to be nice to them." Think of that employee engagement score that every year most companies do. I'm not against it. I will say that as a caveat. However, be aware that at times this is really almost measuring the likability of your leader. It doesn't necessarily reflect the effectiveness or the efficiency or the capability of the leaders or even of yourself. All right. So this likability trap of wanting to make sure that your team members like you, your colleagues like you, so you don't actually lead. You don't hold people accountable. You avoid the tough conversations. You don't hold them I just said you don't hold them accountable. All right. So when it comes to moving from that team activator level, this is the second level, we're at level 2 right now. What you really want to do is start looking at creating a unified strategic process. Are you looking past just your own area into more across departments, but also looking at how do I future proof this? For example, how do I make this process? How do I elevate it out of its operational day-to-day problematics, but I create a more strategic process? It's also about building a culture of excellence within your team. So looking at how do I build trust and accountability in your team? But also really important point in this is learning to activate your team also by delegating to your team, by developing your team and focusing so that you can focus on the strategy, but it allows you also to consistently achieve results and KPIs. Now, there's way more I can get into on this second level of team activator, but I'm going to save that for a next time. So let's dive into number 3. The third level of value is what I call the communication level. Now, the communication level is where you get to influence others, their decisions, and you create an effective personal brand, both inside your organization as well as externally. Excuse me. And here you have to think about, why am I getting promoted, or why do I advance in my role when I am delivering on my communication level? Well, because you talk better than others. You're able to get your point across more effectively. And here, when we talk about your pay, Your salary is much more linked towards your responsibility and possibly even your fiscal responsibility. Now, when it comes to the communication rounds, you might find yourself, "Ooh, I'm waiting for permission. I'm waiting to see if I can talk." Or you might be waiting your turn to speak because, hey, I don't want to interrupt somebody that could come across as rude. So you keep waiting and waiting and waiting. Or you might find yourself stuck in your own head with lots of fear and doubt. Sound familiar? I know I've done all of these things. I've done all the mistakes in every single of these levels. So I've been there. I know what it's like. And a lot of my clients have been experiencing the same, which is why when they come into the Leadership Accelerator, each of these levels we address within the Leadership Accelerator. Now, there was a time very many years ago that I pursued my executive MBA. And the reason I went from executive MBA, beyond the fact that I love learning, was also because I thought this was key. This is the way that I would be able to advance into senior leadership, that I would be seen as capable, that I would be seen as a valuable player, however you want to put it. And I thought, like, this is going to lead to my promotions. But here's the thing. What I didn't realize is it wasn't more knowledge that was keeping me stuck, but it was things like, how do I communicate? How am I ensuring that I'm getting the relevant information to the individuals that need it? Now, I'm just looking at my desk if I can quickly find it. I think so. So there's this, for my clients a couple of weeks ago, I did during one of our group calls, and I'm going to talk about communication specifically, is to consider the fact that when you are communicating, and I'm going to just hold this up here and hopefully you can see it. This big pink area has to do with you as an individual contributor. So think about level 1, right? Your implementation level. You have all the details. You know so much in depth about the project that you're doing, the work that you're doing, the product that you're producing. But not everybody has that same level of information. So consider, I'm going to just use a candy bar. Let's talk about the Mars bar, right? Now, the Mars bar gets produced. If you're on the production line, you have all of this knowledge. You know how the packaging gets there. You know what ingredients are going in. You know the order of it. You know all of those details. Well, the manager, this is going to be this bright yellow, that manager will know enough in order to lead his or her team, but doesn't necessarily know all of the technical aspects, doesn't necessarily know all of the product details as in-depth as that individual contributor. Well, this only continues. So if you go into this little purple, you can see it, it's going to be a little bit smaller. Well, think of that. That is your senior leaders that have some knowledge of the process, they have some knowledge of the product, but not necessarily all of the details. So when it comes to this, they may really be good at, but okay, well, I need to have it in this marketplace. This is what our branding is going to be. This is what our marketing is going to look like. This is what our supply chain looks like. And this is how we ensure that we deliver all of the the raw goods into the factory. And this is how we then ship moving out. But then that last level, at executive level, that becomes even smaller. That becomes a little slice of what they know because, for example, the Mars bar, and again, I have never worked for Mars. I just want to put that as a caveat. But they have got hundreds of products, right, at that company. Your organization will be the same way. Most organizations, if you've got a larger corporation, have multiple products. Think of if you were to walk into a grocery store. Now, I know most of you will probably have done this recently, right? You walk into a grocery store and you want to get one product. You have questions about that one product. Now, the chance that everybody is going to know everything about all of the products is very small. So you want to ensure that when you talk to your executives or your senior leaders, that you are giving them the specific information that is going to either help them make decisions, that is going to showcase the problems that are coming up or the risks that are associated, and then providing the insight as to what is that the options that are available and what you recommend. But that doesn't mean spewing all of the information and data that you have, because I really want you to stick with this question at that moment in time. If you're doing that, are you doing that because you're unsure of yourself and you've got your own doubts and fears running through your own mind? So you justify that, or you try and ease all that self-doubt, that imposter syndrome that has popped up for you, by providing like a fire hose of information. It just doesn't land well. So when it comes to your communication, I really want you to start to consider, what can I really focus on? Now, a second piece of this, and I'm not going to dive into this today because it gets into too much, and we've talked about in the past, my boardroom whisper technique. Now, this is a very specialized technique that I've developed over my years in corporate and with my clients over the past 3.5 years. So if you want to get access to your to the checklist, because I've created a checklist as well, is drop the word boardroom below, and I'll make sure that you get access to that, because there is a short training on it, as well as the checklist, and you can get all of that for free. And you can start using that in order to begin also sharing your accomplishments, because within level 3, also important in terms of your communication, I said it was about building an effective personal brand. Well, part of that is promoting yourself, and also not being humble about it, because we as women tend to be too humble. One of those common things is like, oh, well, everyone's done that. I don't need to share that. No, we need to start talking about our results and promoting it in a way. But I also want you to promote it in a way that feels natural, which is why I created the boardroom whisper technique, as well as that checklist. So again, drop the word boardroom and I will make sure you get access to that. So let's dive into the 4th level. So we've got the first level of implementation, the second level, which is all about team activator, and the third level is communication. Now, the 4th level is relationships. Now, going back again to it's not about what you know, but it's about who you know. So at this level, you have a great ability to start connecting with the right people, identify the high performers, the key decision makers, and you're creating a talent pipeline. Now, when it comes to relationships, and I'm going to speak some more to us as women than generally men, again, because I specialize in working with women leaders, is one of those common mistakes that I see is we don't see networking and is really important. Yes, women are relationship driven, and we also tend, and this is the research has shown this, that we tend to limit our network to our immediate colleagues or what you've already built through your own education and personal life. And when you do that, you've really limited the opportunities that could come across your desk, or the amount of people that would know, hey, you know what? Kim is a great person. You need to have her on your team. You need to talk to Kim because she's got a phenomenal of ideas. Other things what you can also achieve within relationships is you could collaborate for new innovations. You could see, I recently had a client who in her relationships was talking to other people, had she's got lots of business ideas, but had another phenomenal business idea and is now working to start to implement that. But it happens because she has been active in building her network. So when it comes to the relationship level, when you master this, you are able to both connect other people that need to be connected, but you also know, hey, when I've got a challenge, a problem, or an obstacle, I know I can call somebody up and ask them for support. You also utilize your network in order to link you to new people that are going to help you be able to move forward. Now, when it comes to the 5th level, because I really want to keep this in about 25, 30 minutes today, the 5th level is what I call the visionary level. Now, this level has the most value in the marketplace, whether you're in corporate, whether you're an entrepreneur. But think of it as a visionary. You see the future of that industry 5, 10, 20 years out. So consider Steve Jobs, for example. He had the vision of what was possible of creating a small personal computer. He created Apple, of course. That was so long ago. He had to hold that vision. Now, if he hadn't had that vision, I was just like, okay, well, there's a computer. Let's just make a better computer. He might have made another computer that was the same size as those previous huge mainframes. But he saw a future where everyone would access and have a laptop or have their own personal computer. Right? He then had the vision of like, all right, you know what? Let's put all our music on an iPod. Right? Let's rather than everyone having to carry around CDs or tapes, depending on when you got into the music scene. He wanted to find a different way of creating it so that it became more portable and it was a lot easier for people to carry not only one CD but 10, 15, 20, 30 CDs. And then as we progress, like, okay, well, we've got a camera. What are people taking with them? Well, they've got their wallet, they've got their cameras, they've got uh, their music, right? Combining that all into the iPhone. So because of that visionary ability, he has been able, he created so much value for Apple as an organization that that is the highest level of value that you can achieve within an org for an organization. This is also how you are allowing yourself to become more valuable for your organization. So before you're going to say to me like, but Kim, I'm not a CEO. I'm not a CEO of Apple. I'm still, I'm either at a manager level, maybe even you're at a director level or a senior manager level. Well, I have executives levels that are doing all the visions, but I want you to start considering what kind of vision can you start to create within the confines of where you are. What is it that you see for your industry? What is it that you see for your department? How do you see what the future can bring? This level 5 is also about ensuring continual fiscal responsibility, but also the ability to lead multiple levels of teams underneath you. Now, when it comes to some mistakes, what I see women, but also men are prone to this as well, is overworking, which leads to the potential for burnout. Another mistake that is made at this level is a lack of succession planning. Or you might you might have that great vision, but you're not ensuring that, hey, if you're not here, what happens then? Who's going to take over after that? And when it comes to leadership, finding yourself leading from a very traditional type of leadership style. So think about the more authoritative, the more dictator type of leadership. The leadership that's more masculine in terms of characters, not male, but masculine. And that has for years has been accepted, but now it's not fitting you because it doesn't match with your own values. Maybe you want to be more compassionate, you want to be more people focused. Fantastic. So at this level, a big mistake that can be made is that you tend to still copy somebody else's leadership style, even though you've got the vision, but you're copying someone else's leadership style, which is exhausting mentally and physically for you as well, rather than leaning into your own strengths and values at that point. So when you're looking at this level, some questions to consider, regardless of whether you're a manager, you're a senior leader, you're an executive, right? One of the clients that I had worked with in the past, she was sharing, I have a whole department of multiple departments I'm leading, but I don't know what direction. We don't know how to, determine priorities. There's so much work coming at us that I don't have enough people. And I'm also not going to I'm not allowed to hire any more people. So when I asked her, well, what's the vision? Do you have a vision for your organization? Has your organization already shared its own vision and strategy? Well, no, we don't have that. And I've asked, but there isn't any. So in this instance, her organization, or she either she didn't have access to it. I'm going to leave it in the middle there, but she didn't have access to it, or they just had not yet created a vision. They had simply they had they were leaning on past success in the hope that it was going to be continue to be successful. But what happened is that those that are doing the work, that are more in the operationals, and even this woman who is this leader, who she was moving between the operational and the strategic side, and she's like, we have opportunities, but we also need to create focus and know what our priorities are. So at that point in time, I was like, if you're not being, you don't have access to somebody else's vision of your leaders, your executives, they are not providing you with a vision, then this is your task to do. So the questions became, well, what do you expect that has going to your industry, your department, your organization is going to need in the next 5 to 10 years? Also think about what are the technologies that need to be developed and or already are developed but need to be adjusted. Right now, a big discussion point is around AI. What is that going to look like? What's that effect going to be in the next 5 to 10 years? And what are the skills that you need, whether it's in your department, within your team, within your business group, within your entire corporation, in order to future-proof your organization? And that is where, again, that is the highest level of value. So when you're looking for yourself, I want to move forward. I want to advance my career. I want to stop being overlooked. I want to stop being ignored. I want to really get that visibility, that respect, that recognition for what I've done. We need to start also looking at how can you move your way up the levels of value. So just as a summary, those 5 levels are: first, and the most foundational one is the implementation level. Second one is the team activator level. Third is communication. Fourth is your relationships. And the 5th level of value that you can deliver is visionary. And of course, this is the most valuable level of value that you can deliver, that and will also be paid the most from organizations as a whole. All right, so I'd love to hear any other details. If you've got questions, please drop them in the chat or the comments. I am always happy to answer them. And as I mentioned halfway through, there is, of course, the opportunity to grab my free Boardroom Whisper technique. And that is, there's a short training as well as a checklist that you can use, and you can use it right away. I've had women that downloaded and have just started seeing results within the first 24 to 48 hours of being able to get more respect during a meeting, getting their ideas both recognized, but also spoken about, and being able and starting to create those stakeholders that actually support and take on their ideas and their strategies. So it is definitely a very valuable document. Also, if you're interested, I have, of course, part of this, the levels of value, is also inside my Leadership Accelerator program. That is a group program for women leaders who are in senior to executive level leadership and are looking to either be more effective as a leader or starting to look for, hey, I need to start transitioning into that new role. So if you're interested in that, just DM me Accelerator and we can start having a chat about that as well. Thank you so much for listening. So I'm going to end it there. Again, we've got 5 levels of value. Most people don't talk about these. We just kind of think, oh, I need to work harder. You don't need to. Let's talk about those 5 levels of value, right? Figure out where you are now and where you need to strengthen, and where you can strengthen, what the opportunity is for you to strengthen moving forward. And if you've got any questions, please, again, drop them in the chat or drop them in my DMs. I love talking to you about these topics. I'm very passionate about women and leaders. And I really look forward to seeing the results that you get.